There are some people who consider themselves ambiamorous, where they feel like they could be monogamous or polyamorous. At this point, I feel like I'm leaning more toward polyamory, but I feel like if you had asked me 2 years ago, I would have said I was more ambiamorous. And so I like to make sure that I'm constantly reevaluating what it is that I'm interested in, what it is that brings me joy in relationships. That's important to me. But as far as how I got here, it feels so natural. It didn't feel like I was knocked off of something to get here, if that makes sense. It doesn't feel like I was pushed here by any particular urge. It really was organic. Somebody happened to mention this, and I was like, oh, so it just feels very meant to be me. It just feels like, oh, I had to go through that monogamous marriage to get to that divorce group to get here. And the timing was good. I had already had my children, and it's like the children that I plan to have because I'm not having any more.
I know it's a lot of stuff in the media within the last 5 years or so about polyamory and non-monogamy or consensual non-monogamy, or some people say ethical non-monogamy. And it typically, as the media tends to do, is kind of stratify things. So it gives you one particular outlook on it and not really a very nuanced purview. So I'm hoping by listening to this episode and the previous episode where I share how I got here, folks will understand some of the nuanced ways on like why folks are now here and living this way.
I think one of the things that's really interesting that I think is important for me to point out when it comes to polyamory is it's not so much about having multiple people. That's not what it's about. It's not about the having of it. It's about the capacity to have it. So I'm not seeking, oh, I need to have 3 partners or I need to have 3 lovers. All right, I have a lover and I've met this other person who also sparks something in my heart and I want to see where that goes. More so than it's about what you see on TV, where it's like, I need to have more than one person or I need multiple people to meet my needs, etc. I don't feel like that's necessarily my story. And whereas your story was very like you had an urge in you and it was very tied to your divorce, I feel like my divorce was incidental. My divorce was the catalyst to getting me to polyamory, and for you, polyamory was the catalyst to your divorce. So I'm glad that we got to offer 2 different kinds of stories.